Welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're going to be talking about the Las Vegas Raiders and how they have one of the best rosters in the entire NFL. But before we hop into the content of today's video, if you guys are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe and drop a like on the video if you guys do enjoy it. We're on the road to 3,000 subscribers, so if you haven't hit that button yet, be sure to do so. And with all that being said, let's hop into the video about the Las Vegas Raiders and their stacked roster heading into the 2022 NFL season. Now, before we talk about the Las Vegas Raiders and the moves they made this offseason to really excel their roster and compete in the AFC West, we need to talk about last season because a lot happened for the Las Vegas Raiders as far as a front office standpoint and on the field. It was just a crazy year for the team. The Raiders finished second in the AFC West last year at 10-7, and the playoff spot that they earned came down to the last game of the season against the Los Angeles Chargers and was one of the most exciting and insane games I've ever watched in my entire life of watching football. The Raiders got up to a pretty substantial lead, and then Justin Herbert made some insane throws to get the Chargers back in the game. And then there was so much drama because if both of the teams tied, then the Steelers were going to miss out on the playoffs, and the Raiders and Chargers were both going to make it, who are division rivals. So much drama was circulating as the game entered overtime, but the Raiders walked off a field goal with Daniel Carlson hitting a game-winning field goal, which he routinely does for the Raiders every single season, and they moved on to play the Cincinnati Bengals in the first round of the NFL playoffs. In this game, the Raiders kind of fought back most of the game. I felt like they were kind of playing from behind, but they battled all game long until the final possession where Derek Carr threw an interception at the goal line to potentially tie the game for the Raiders. So they fell to the Bengals 26-19, who ended up going to the Super Bowl. So it's not really a huge failure that the Raiders were not able to beat the Bengals on the road. So all in all, it was a pretty good season for the Raiders. Anytime a team makes the playoffs, I think it's a pretty successful year. And when you haven't made the playoffs in 5 years, it's a really exciting moment, so I really do think that the Raiders took a good step last season. But then just making the playoffs wasn't what made it so impressive as a season. We have to go into the depths of what really caused such a dramatic year for the Raiders, and it starts with Jon Gruden resigning as the Las Vegas Raiders head coach due to some emails that got leaked. I don't want to get too far into that. Jon Gruden had a huge controversy, and he basically left the Raiders, and the Raiders promoted their special teams coach, Rich Bisaccia, to head coach, and he did a pretty fantastic job for the Raiders. But just all the drama for a few weeks of the Gruden situation really weighed on the team, and I just cannot imagine being in that locker room and having to deal with the outside noise while you're in the middle of a season. And then to make matters even worse, you had the tragic events of Henry Ruggs, and that was another very sad and another situation that weighs on a team. So the Raiders had these two huge incidents occur, and they still battled through and found a way to make the playoffs. And that was what was really impressing to me. And I thought what Derek Carr was able to do with his leadership and his play last year was really impressive. One of the most impressive things we've seen from a quarterback as far as leadership goes in a long time. After Mike Mayock was fired after the season, it was a complete new change of scenery for the Raiders, and I really think they took advantage of the opportunity that they were presented with. For GM, they hired Dave Ziegler, who was a pretty well-known scout for the New England Patriots, and I think once they kind of hired him, it kind of made sense that Josh McDaniels was going to be joining him. So the Raiders got both of those guys from the Patriots tree. Now they're in the building for Las Vegas, and I think that there are going to be a pretty solid duo. I know sometimes when new teams hire Patriot assistants, the assistants usually try to portray Bill Belichick and have his type of personality, and that doesn't really work unless you're a 6-time Super Bowl champion. So that's why many of his assistants fail in the NFL. But I think McDaniels is level-headed. I think he knows that that approach doesn't really work, especially with new teams. He's already had an experience of being a head coach with the Broncos. So I think that he's going to know better and be a pretty good assistant that come out of New England. I'm really going to be looking forward to see how he gets the most out of this high-powered offense. And that brings me to my next point of the video, which is talking about the biggest move the Las Vegas Raiders did this offseason and bringing in Davante Adams from the Packers when they traded a first-round and a second-round pick in the 2022 NFL Draft to secure the best receiver in football. Adams and Carr have a pretty good history. They were teammates at Fresno State, and it's alleged that Carr was the reason why Adams signed there in the first place. They've had a really good relationship for a long time, and David Carr, who is Derek Carr's brother, he was on CBS the other day and said it's something that they've been trying to make happen for 5 years now, since Davante signed his contract extension several years ago with the Packers. Derek was pushing to get in there, and Davante was really close. A couple years ago, they were really close to making that happen. So it seems like this has been in the works for a long time, and it's going to be a really exciting thing to watch, seeing two college teammates who really tore it up in college reuniting in the NFL, and I think that their skill sets are going to be very fun to watch together next season. But Adams is not the only supreme threat that the Raiders possess on offense. They have Darren Waller, who is a top 5 tight end in football. They have Josh Jacobs, who is a very solid running back in the backfield. And then they also have Hunter Renfrow, who had 1,000 yards last year and is probably the best slot receiver in football. I think Hunter Renfrow is a really good player. I don't think he necessarily gets enough credit for how good he has been since he's entered the league. But the Raiders on offense are stacked when it comes to skill position goes. I don't know how teams are going to line up and stop Darren Waller, Devontae Adams, and Hunter Renfrow on the field at the same time. That seems like a very hard trio to stop, and I'll be really interested to see how teams attack that. On top of the skill position groups, the Raiders brought back their entire starting offensive line, and they also used their only real premium pick, their 3rd round selection on Dylan Parham, a 6'3", 285-pound guard out of Memphis, to help give them some depth. I don't know if he's going to start right away for the Raiders, but if he does, he'll be a very solid option for the Raiders and continue the improvement on that offensive line. That was ranked 28th by Pro Football Focus last year, but it is worth mentioning they had a lot of injuries on that unit. The addition of Adams is a very exciting thing for the Raiders fan base and their team, but the most impactful pickups this offseason may be on the defensive side of the ball. The Raiders ranked 20th in sacks last year, and it was really a one-man wrecking crew in Max Crosby, who had an all-pro season last year. He's practically unstoppable one-on-one, and the Raiders now got another threat on the other side with Chandler Jones. They signed him to a contract from the Cardinals, who had a great year last year as well. So now they have a pair of elite pass rushers on either side of the football, and I think that tandem is going to be really hard for offenses to stop. Jones will be coming in and replacing Yannick Ngakoue that the Raiders traded to the Colts for Rock Ya-Sin. Ngakoue had 10 sacks last year for the Raiders. He had a pretty good season, but I think when you have one-on-one opportunities almost every play with Max Crosby on the other side of the line, the Raiders wanted a little bit more consistency and some more playmaking from their other edge rusher, which is really the reason why I think they went out and got Jones, who they view as an upgrade. Rock Ya-Sin, he's going to step into a very young secondary that the Raiders have. Nate Hobbs had a great year as a rookie last year for the Raiders, probably one of the best rookie defenders in the league. And to go with Hobbs and Rock Ya-Sin, they also have Trayvon Mullen, who has emerged as a pretty solid player in the league. And then for some depth, they also went out and got Anthony Verrett. So I really like the moves the Raiders made this offseason to add some depth and more playmaking to their defense. When you're going to be playing quarterbacks like Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, and Russell Wilson now 6 times out of your 17 games, you better have a very good pass rush to disrupt them, and you better have some cornerbacks that can cover their elite wide receivers, and that's exactly what the Raiders did on their defense this year. I think comparing the Raiders roster to the rest of the teams in the AFC West, they stack up pretty good. I think the Broncos and Chargers also have really good rosters. I just think that the Chargers have a little bit more holes on their defense than the Raiders do. And the Broncos, I'm just going to be intrigued to how everything kind of gels together. You have a brand new head coach, you have a brand new quarterback. It's just going to take a little bit to get adjusted and acclimated to such a new environment and such a new team. I just think that the Broncos are going to take a little bit to get things rolling. And of course, the Chiefs are the Chiefs. They had a lot of draft picks this year, so they're going to have a lot of young players that are going to have to contribute for them to be able to make the runs that they have the last few years. But I think anytime you have Patrick Mahomes, who's the best quarterback in the league, you can get away with some holes on your team. But I really do think the departure of Tyreek Hill, who went to the Miami Dolphins, is going to be a big loss for their offense, at least this year, until they kind of figure out his replacement and what they're going to do on that side of the ball, replacing his production and what he does to put in fear of defenses. But this is going to be the most exciting division to watch for the 2022 NFL season. I think every single team has a good chance to win the division, but I do think that the Las Vegas Raiders have the best overall roster. I think Josh McDaniels can take this offense to another level that Jon Gruden and the past Raiders coaches haven't really been able to get out of Carr and the rest of the talent on the team. And I really like that Patrick Graham is going to be coming over from the New York Giants. I think he's a really solid defensive coordinator, and I think his play calling, his development with some of the young players, and then also the addition of Chandler Jones, Jayon Brown, who I haven't mentioned yet, and Rock Ya-Sin, I think their defense is definitely going to take another step next year and will put the Raiders in the driver's seat to win the AFC West division title. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching the video. If you guys are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe and drop a like on the video if you guys did enjoy it. Let me know what you think of the Raiders and if they have a good chance to win the AFC West next year and can make some noise in the playoffs. And with all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.